The human experience is a complex tapestry woven with threads of choice and circumstance. Few aspects of life highlight this interplay as profoundly as addiction. Is it a conscious choice, an act of personal failing? Or is it a disease, a physiological hijacking? This debate lies at the heart of understanding addiction. It shapes our perception and approach to treatment. The answer is rarely black and white. Addiction exists on a spectrum, influenced by many factors. To unravel its complexities, we must delve into the science, explore societal forces, and listen to lived experiences. This exploration is a call to action. Addiction touches countless lives. By seeking understanding, we can challenge stigma, foster compassion, and create pathways to healing. Our journey begins by defining addiction. What does it mean to be addicted? How does it manifest in lives? By examining these questions, we can unravel addiction's impact. Addiction, in its essence, is a chronic relapsing disease characterized by compulsive engagement in rewarding stimuli, despite adverse consequences. It's not simply a matter of enjoying something too much or lacking willpower. Instead, it involves fundamental changes in brain structure and function, particularly in areas related to reward, motivation, and decision-making. Imagine a car with its accelerator stuck down, hurtling towards a brick wall. Despite knowing the danger, the driver can't seem to hit the brakes. This is akin to the experience of addiction. The individual, despite understanding the harmful consequences of their actions, feels powerless to stop. Their brain's reward system has been hijacked, driving them towards the very thing that harms them. The consequences of addiction extend far beyond the individual. Families are torn apart, friendships are strained, and communities bear the weight of its social and economic costs. From increased healthcare expenses to lost productivity and crime, addiction casts a long shadow. Yet, despite the devastating impact of addiction, it remains shrouded in stigma and misunderstanding. This lack of understanding fuels shame and guilt, often preventing individuals from seeking the help they desperately need. It's time to shed light on the science behind addiction, to move beyond simplistic notions of choice and willpower, and to embrace a more compassionate and informed perspective. The human brain, a marvel of evolutionary engineering, is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. At the heart of this intricate system lies the reward pathway, a complex network of nerve cells responsible for releasing dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with feelings of pleasure and motivation. When we engage in activities that promote survival, such as eating or socializing, dopamine is released, reinforcing these behaviors and making us want to repeat them. Addictive substances and behaviors hijack this system, flooding the brain with unnaturally high levels of dopamine. This surge creates an intense, albeit fleeting sense of euphoria, reinforcing the addictive behavior. Over time, the brain adapts to this dopamine overload, reducing its sensitivity to the drug or behavior. This means that individuals need increasingly larger amounts of the substance or behavior to achieve the same effect, a phenomenon known as tolerance. Simultaneously, the brain's ability to experience pleasure from naturally rewarding activities diminishes, leading to anhedonia, a loss of interest in things once enjoyed. These changes in brain chemistry and function underpin the compulsive nature of addiction. The individual is no longer simply seeking pleasure. They are desperately trying to avoid the excruciating pain of withdrawal and regain a semblance of normalcy in their reward system. The journey into addiction often begins with a choice, a seemingly innocuous decision to experiment with a drug or engage in a particular behavior. For some, this initial experience may be fleeting, a passing curiosity. For others, however, it marks the beginning of a slippery slope towards dependency. Several factors influence an individual's vulnerability to addiction. Genetics plays a role, with some individuals inheriting a predisposition to addiction. Environmental factors such as early childhood trauma, abuse, or exposure to substance use can also increase the risk. Additionally, mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, and PTSD often co-occur with addiction, with individuals using substances or behaviors as a way to self-medicate and cope with emotional pain. As individuals continue to engage in the addictive behavior, their brains undergo the changes described earlier, leading to tolerance, withdrawal symptoms, and an increasing loss of control. What began as a choice becomes a physical and psychological necessity. It's important to note that not everyone who uses drugs or engages in potentially addictive behaviors will develop an addiction. However, for those who are genetically predisposed or have experienced significant trauma or stress, the risk is significantly higher. Addiction through society's lens. Confronting stigma. Imagine for a moment being diagnosed with a serious illness, only to be met with judgment, blame, and isolation. This is the harsh reality faced by countless individuals struggling with addiction. Instead of receiving compassion and support, they are often ostracized, labeled as morally flawed, and denied the basic human dignity afforded to others with medical conditions. This stigma is deeply ingrained in our society, fueled by misconceptions, misinformation, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the nature of addiction. We view addiction as a moral failing, a lack of willpower, rather than the complex medical condition it truly is. The consequences of this stigma are far-reaching and devastating. It prevents individuals from seeking help, fearing judgment and discrimination. It creates barriers to employment, housing, and education, further marginalizing those who are already struggling. And it perpetuates a cycle of shame and secrecy, making it difficult for individuals to heal and rebuild their lives. Embracing the disease model, fostering compassion and support. To effectively address the addiction crisis, we must shift our perspective from one of blame and shame to one of compassion and understanding. Embracing the disease model of addiction is crucial in achieving this goal. The disease model recognizes addiction as a chronic, relapsing medical condition that affects the brain and body. It acknowledges the complex interplay of genetic, environmental, and social factors that contribute to its development. By viewing addiction through this lens, we can destigmatize the condition, encourage individuals to seek help, and promote more effective treatment and prevention strategies. Treating addiction as a disease does not absolve individuals of responsibility for their actions. It simply recognizes that addiction, like other chronic diseases such as diabetes or heart disease, requires ongoing management and support. Just as we wouldn't blame someone for developing diabetes, we should not blame individuals for struggling with addiction. Embracing the disease model fosters empathy and understanding, creating a more supportive environment for individuals in recovery. It encourages us to see beyond the addiction and recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. Navigating the path to recovery, treatment, and resources. Recovery from addiction is possible, and there is hope for individuals and families affected by this disease. A wide range of evidence-based treatments and support services are available to help individuals overcome addiction and rebuild their lives. Medication-assisted treatment, or MAT, has proven effective in treating opioid and alcohol addiction, reducing cravings and withdrawal symptoms. Behavioral therapies, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT and motivational interviewing, help individuals develop coping mechanisms, manage triggers, and change unhealthy thought patterns. Support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous provide a safe and supportive community for individuals in recovery. These groups offer peer support, guidance, and a sense of belonging, which are essential for long-term sobriety. Recovery is not a one-size-fits-all journey. It requires individualized treatment plans tailored to the specific needs of each person. Factors such as the type of addiction, severity of the condition, mental health status, and social support system all play a role in determining the most effective treatment approach. Hope on the horizon. Recovery is possible. Addiction is a complex and challenging disease, but it is not a life sentence. Recovery is possible, and countless individuals have overcome addiction to lead healthy, fulfilling lives. By embracing the disease model, challenging stigma, and expanding access to treatment and support services, we can create a world where recovery is the rule, not the exception. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, please know that you are not alone. Reach out for help, connect with others who understand, and never give up hope. Recovery is a journey, not a destination, and with support, compassion, and perseverance, it is a journey worth taking.